How's everyone doing today on Fantastic Friday? And again, it is another great day to be alive and another gift, not only to receive, but to give as well. And as always, where there's will be a coffee with Chris, there will be a great and engaging conversation, just like we have on Conversations for Humanity, Share and Care at BHT, Humanity Happy Hour, and so much more. And I am just so humbled and honored to be here with you guys today. And yes, we're using a new platform today. This is Riverside FM. Just wanted to try it out, see how well it works from a live stream perspective, and we'll test it out today to make sure it can not only be uploaded to YouTube and also to our LinkedIn page, and see how well that goes from a engagement standpoint. So just doing a little something new, something a little different, and everything. But again, please follow my page and also our business page here at Bring Humanity Together for the latest updated information, shows, collaboration calls, meet and greet calls, and we would love to hear from all of you today. And yes, this is going to be part two of the great and engaging conversation that we had uh, last week about should there be politics in business today. And I want to do on the flip side of what we were traditionally talking about is from the political realm spectrum to where it's about politics from a government perspective of what the actual politicians actually will be doing for us when we elect them to represent us in whether it be local government, state government, and everything in between. But in our poll that we did over 2 weeks ago, that we did, uh, there's not a whole swath of people that actually took part in the poll, but there was still quite a few who did. Um, and of those people who were polled of should there be politics in our workplaces today, only 12% said yes, there's politics in our workplace today. 67% said no, that they shouldn't. And of those people, too, as well, 8% commented in the original post, and 12 more percent actually said they would actually love to have a great and engaging conversation. Uh, so that is why, like I said, I am just so humbled and honored uh, to have this conversation with all of you today. Because, like I said, I truly believe uh, politics should never be in our workplaces today. So, uh, I'm a firm believer that when you really think about it, at the end of the day, is that when you look at a business, it's literally structured in what a government really is to a large extent. There is, here in the United States at least, there's an executive, there's a legislative, and there's the judicial. The way I see it from a business side point of view of it is the executive is literally the administration component of the structure. There is, of course, the CEO, the board of directors. You have all those leaders that's actually, I hate to say it, it's from a hierarchical structure, and that's what we're on course to change here at Bringing Humanity Together. It's not about the hierarchy anymore. It's about really, literally changing the face and way we do business from a human-centered perspective. And I truly believe we don't have to do it from a hierarchy perspective. It's literally the whole encompassing of the organization as one. Uh, but you have that component of it. Then when you think about it from the other side of it, you have the operational side of it, which is technically the legislative side of it. They have to actually do those kind of things to such a degree to where these things get implemented from a day-to-day basis and everything in between. Now, the third component, of course, is from the legislative and executive standpoint. This, of course, there's the judicial from a government perspective, but from a business perspective, when you think about it from that standpoint of a judicial dynamic, it really occurs to me it's literally in the realm of what, quote unquote, the current HR dynamic sits in today, or human resources. For me and for all of us here at Bring Humanity Together, it's literally about human development. That is going to be the evolutionary step of where currently HR sits today. And I truly believe they, for whatever rhyme or reason, and I'm not doing a blanket kind of description of every company on this planet, but I'm doing it from a perspective of what I have seen for over 35 years. Is most often than not, human resources don't take the well-being of the very people really into a big considerational dynamic. They really look out for their well-being. They make sure that they get the tools and resources they need and everything like that. And I'm not saying not all of them do that. So there's probably a lot of great companies to do. But most often than not, most HR, from an internal company perspective, is literally not independent of the company they're supposed to be there for. They're literally are so integrated, it's literally factored in. But see, in our government today, our founders saw it to be to where each branch of government was a co-equal but yet separated branch in and of itself. And I've seen it for far too long, ladies and gentlemen, and I would love to hear from you guys too as well, is how have you seen it in that kind of way in and of itself. So we'll bring in Daniela. And Daniela, glad to see you here. How you doing today?
Fine, thank you.
Glad that you are here. How things going on your side of the world?
Okay.
All right, very good, very good. What we're talking about is the other dynamic of what politics look upon in a business setting, and I kind of laid out the framework where here in the United States we actually have three branches of government. We have the legislative, we have the judicial, and the executive. And I was laying out the groundwork on what usually is done in a business setting, to where you have uh, the executive, which is literally the administration part component of a business and everything. They
Yeah.
actually are setting the tone and all those kind of things. And then
Yeah.
from an operational standpoint, from a business perspective, that will fall under probably the legislative. They actually got to put out the procedures and policies and all that kind of stuff and everything. But then the other dynamic too as well, which is somewhat the judicial side of it, is they're going to end up doing it from the place of human resources. Now, human resources does kind of dictate some of the policies and stuff too as well, but they also are literally are the, I guess, I don't want to call them the end all be all, but these people are literally are looking for people who are not doing right by others, probably doing stuff from a harassment standpoint or stealing from the company, or they're not training people right. They have a lot of kind of powers within that, but
Yeah.
it's not, when you really think about it, Daniela, from a corporate perspective, they would think that they would be separate but yet co-equal. But what I've come to find out
Mm-hmm.
is literally, and I've seen play out for over 35 years of my own experience, is one side of the organization will try to subserve the other side. So let's say it's administrative, will try to grasp power from, let's say, operations, or operations want to kind of upheaval the HR dynamic and everything like that. But the
Yeah.
my big thing though, Daniela, is we play politics in business for far too long
Yeah.
because we don't want people to grow or to thrive or surpass us. And and I want to find out from you, why do we even play politics in our businesses today? And Tracy,
Right.
glad to see you here too as well. So Daniela, what's your take when it comes to actual politics, not governmental politics and what we talk about our government, but the politics that are being played in business today? How do we mitigate that, or how, more importantly, how do we actually even create a different environment to where politics is not necessarily the norm, but might be the exception to the rule?
Uh, it's hard for me to say because that's the main politics is actually the main reason why I never dared to start my own business in Slovakia because it's so much intertwined and politics brings so much risk for me that it's not just about not feeling secure enough health wise to start something and know that I can continue, that I will not break down within 2 or 3 months. But the changes in politics and in legislation concerning uh, businesses and small businesses, especially, uh, it's so it brings so much insecurity that uh, that actually stopped me because I have like three or four ideas what I could do, but I'm not willing to take the risk. So it's hard for me to say what we could do about it because I haven't even figured it out for myself and for my own needs, let alone seeing the big picture for uh, the general business world.
Wow, I love that. Love that. Thank you so much. Tracy, how are you doing today on this fantastic Friday?
I'm good. How are you? How
Doing
are you,
well, doing
Daniela?
well. And I know you got a lot to say on this. So, what's your
No,
take
I
when it
don't.
comes to
I don't
actual
know what is.
politics in business, not governmental politics in business, but what do we actually do to really not help humanity grow and thrive? Why do we play maybe the political games as we do in business today? Why do we even do that?
Politics is just part of the business. I, 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 how can I say this? It's not really entirely political. I think it just the protocol in different organizations is different from one to the other. It's very cultural in different communities. It's also very personal in smaller organizations. The founders, the business owners, the leaders, the managers, they kind of define that kind of culture. If they want to go diplomatic, that's fine. But I think it's respect for each other. And as long as that's good natured, it's okay to play along, but too much hierarchy, too many structures is definitely going to be counterproductive. That's why big organizations suffer financially a lot. You see this massive layoff from big corporations. Why? Because they have this chain of command. They have to have multi layers, and when there's an economic downturn, when they don't generate as much as they used to be, they have to downsize. And that's the thing. Is corporate world politics, right? Sometimes, in order to build up different layers, is required. But once you have to downsize, you only keep that financial centers that the departments only can generate revenues is capped, and then all their other called accessory auxiliaries are just being laid off. The entire departments is cut off, and I think they normally start with a new hire, right? And then they go the 5 year and below. Rarely anywhere between 5 and 10 will be laid off. They will be maybe relocated, transferred to different subdivisions, different departments, maybe different jobs, but they try to accommodate because there's a seniority, there's loyalty, everything built into. But the new hires, doesn't matter. We just have to do that because one is it costs less. Two, it's more convincing. We're not basing on merits. We're basing on how long you contribute to the organization. This part is very political, is very diplomatic, but that's the way that the majority of the corporation accept. They do that all the time. Unless something became obsolete, we really don't need this business anymore. I'm sorry. Either I'll sell you to some other companies. There's some mergers, there's acquisitions, and they kind of think this is an act of God. Okay, it's not that we don't want you, we
Mm-hmm.
can afford. Sorry, we'll let you go. We'll pay you out, and that's how much you get. That happens a lot in the Western world, and I used to work with a lot of Korean and Japanese companies. They will
Mm-hmm.
pay for their retirement, but that also puts a huge burden on the business. And even in the Chinese market, in a recent decade, the government imposed heavy regulations on private businesses. If you hire a person, you can't fire him or her unless there's something uh, really the
Right,
employee's
right,
fault, right? And
exactly.
it's definitely a reason for you to fire a person. Otherwise, you are hired forever, and the contract says renewable every year. But because you cannot fire a person without a very justifiable excuse, you are pretty much locked. And then I think it's more than 30% of the benefits is required, and medical insurance, some other, like a work-related the liability insurance, everything has to be paid by the corporation. It really adds a lot to, especially for small business. They can't afford a group insurance, but you have to find it somehow. You solve the problem. If you say I pay you out, you go find your own, like Obamacare kind of thing. No, the companies are required to cover a group insurance for the employees. It's a part of the benefits. It's required. It's like a 5 different insurance or works comp, that kind of thing is required by the government. And it's super scary. And the business was forced to go overseas, to go to Vietnam, Malaysia, some other countries. And I think this is very Asian Pacific kind of thing because the government required that. And there's a huge difference between the rich and the poor, and we in general has a relatively small middle class. Here in America, we thought we are in the middle class, but there's the upper middle, lower middle, and the real middle class is not that big. We all thought we are middle class. Maybe not. Rethink
Yeah.
who you really are, or where you are on this social status thing. So it, it is political. It is very political, and there's a politics in everything, almost in every corner of the world, including our own family. Right? Think about your family dynamics. Is sometimes you do play this back and forth game, especially in those large families. I grew up from a small family. I only have one older brother, but I have seen a lot of families with like 4 generations or three, or they have more siblings than normal. What I consider normal is two. But there are families with 4, 5, 6 kids, and then you will see all those different generations, and also this sibling rivalry. That's purely political. I think politics came from family. We all know how to deal with different family members, and later on when we go to school, we know how to, handle personal issues with classmates and then co-workers, and for the people who are in politics, they play really well. They do because they are professionals, and we are amateurs. We learn from our own mistakes all the time. That's all I wanted to say. And by the way, I do have a Riverside account because I did not really start a podcast, but this is the app, right? Support podcast. Is that right? Okay. Yeah, but this is pretty good. Yeah. Thank you,
All
Chris.
right,
Thank you,
Tracy,
Daniela.
thank you so much. Greatly appreciate you. Daniela, what's your take on what she just shared?
Well, yeah, I do get it. I don't have that much insight into the Asian way of dealing with such things, but yeah, it is logical. And yes, I'm also I'm an only child, so I never had this rivalry problem or anything like that. But I do know within my biological family that it can happen. So yeah, and yes, uh, politics is everywhere, whether you like it or not, and you either learn to live with it or you're a victim of it, one or the other way.
Well, see, that's the thing, and I'm glad you mentioned that you did bring in the victim kind of dynamic, because for me, if someone's going to play political games with me at work
Yeah,
and they're wanting to either get my job, or they don't want me to get to another promotion, or get this or get that, or even as you were talking about the hiring and firing of people, Tracy, this what came to mind when we were talking about uh, the the quietly firing of people and the quiet quitting kind of dynamic too as well. And I'm starting to kind of connect the dots now to where even when someone wants to fire somebody, and I got a lot of YouTube videos to back all this stuff up, and I will put it on the event page, not only of this one but the original conversation we had about quietly quitting and quietly firing people. Uh, is for them not to have to go through all the paperwork of literally firing somebody. What they will do is many things, and I can take this from my own experience with someone that I know very well, who's in the restaurant business, just like I was for over 35 years. Uh, he was at a restaurant not too long ago that literally had him on 4 to 5 days a week, and then when they changed managers, he went from the 4 to 5 days a week down to three, and that three then ended up going to point of two, and then next thing you know, they sit him down and say, hey, we can't have you on here anymore doing what you're doing, but we would love for you to do this instead. We want you to kind of be in charge of it. Would you be okay with that? He said, yes, not a problem. I can do that. I will. I've been doing that anyways, as it is right now, for a very long time, so I can do all that. But then again, what ended up happening with him, and I truly believe this is going to be a big thing for a lot of people, is that he got a notification one day about a catering that he was supposed to do and all that kind of stuff. And next thing you know, he's like, I can't get into this. Can someone tell me what's going on? Send an email to the store manager, and then he comes back within the email, mind you. And this is the thing that blew me away when he read this to me. Is he said, "We will call you when we need you. Now I have to account for 2 hours of unauthorized caterings, when in fact there was caterings to be done. So how can they not be unauthorized when you already said 4 or 5 weeks back that you had to have him do said caterings moving forward and everything like that? So, but still to this day, though, the thing that really gets me, though, is he still are getting those very same notifications on his email because it's attached to his personal email address. But yet, the company said they will call you if we need you, but yet has never called him. Still to this day. So now he's basically, I call it in labor lingo. I mean, not labor lingo, but labor limbo. And he's basically caught in between. It's almost like job purgatory. He's literally not living, but not dead, but he's like right in the middle. And,
Yeah.
And for me, I feel so bad for this guy because because even in one of the videos that I did some research on, they said this is another way that they can get rid of people without having to go through all the paperwork, doing all this from a lawsuit perspective. If they get sued, and they can just say, "Hey, this is what we just did. He left on his own."
Yeah.
But see, for me, that's basically literally in and of itself, Tracy and Daniela, playing that political game. That literally, by you technically not doing something, is literally doing something by very design. And you're literally and a lot of the videos that I did the research on said it would give them kind of like the plausible deniability that they wouldn't have done what they did, and they can't get sued for it. They can't find the malice in it or whatever. But see, that's been on the uptick for a lot of people, that they have seen full well of what companies are doing to them, and they have no other recourse to do. So what I'm thinking, and I'd love to hear from both of you ladies, is what's going to probably, I think, is what's going to end up happening is, since this trend is really on the uptick to where this quietly firing of people is leading to the quietly quitting of those very employees or those very vendors or whatever that might be. Because think about it, everybody's literally a business onto everybody else. We are going to sell and buy from each other just like nobody's business. But see, I have a different take on that, but that be for another conversation for another day. But see, I truly believe that's what's going to end up happening moving forward, is we're going to get in that dichotomy to where people are going to say, hey, I didn't do this. This is what I said. This is what my words say. And that was it. But sometimes when you look at a piece of paper, Daniela and Tracy, you only see part of the story, so you really don't know.
Yeah.
Daniela,
Exactly.
I'll start with you. Do you believe this is going to be really on the uptick trend where we're going to have to really address it now and really probably try to find a way to mitigate all this stuff? Because if it's going to eat out the culture of an organization, I surely believe it's going to spread like a cancer.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, for me, being disabled and with the disability legislation in Europe changing as fast as it is, and it's believed that it's positive for people with disabilities, but in the end, you are sort of pushed into a corner to only accept jobs where they accept you as a disabled person, because those people who don't want to be accepted as disabled but have a disability that can hold them back from giving 100% in the workplace, they would fire them immediately. But if you are under disability legislation, even if you're not good enough, the company is not allowed to fire you. You would have to do something really bad for them to have the right to fire you, but it's stupid because, for example, in my case, when I'm able to work, I'm giving 120, and then all of a sudden I can break down. So the I have I have no control, and I find it unfair against the company.
Yep, and Sue's now joined us. Hello, Sue. How are you doing today?
I'm good, thank you. Can you hear me?
You're
Yeah.
good.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good. This is new, Chris. This is Riverside. I've never heard of this before.
It's a new one. We wanted to try it out and see how well it works. So we're live streaming on my on not my Facebook page. Why am I seeing Facebook? I don't know why. I got Facebook in my brain today. On our my LinkedIn profile page and also on our YouTube page. And of course, what we're talking about, Sue, is something we talked about a couple of weeks ago. Is should politics be in our organizations today? And we're going to bring Tom in here in just a second, too. So Tom is here. Hello, Tom. Glad to see you here, sir. Glad that you are here. So I wanted to go to the other component of this is the one side of really, it's the political games that are played, whether it be from a place of management, a place of leadership, or even teams and that kind of thing. And Sue, I know you've been an executive secretary, and you've been doing some other things most of your life too, as well. Of course, I know Tom, you got a lot to say about this too, as well. But Sue, like you said, politics is going to be everywhere in our lives, absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt. But from a political gamesmanship kind of dynamic that's really embedded in the culture of an organization, what would be the need to play political games in an organization? Do we need to have it, or do we need to ditch it and get rid of it?
Well, I think in an ideal world, Chris, we'd get rid of it. I mean, I think increasingly nowadays companies are moving towards flat structures. I mean, it's not like in the old days where you had a clearly defined hierarchy, like you had a bank manager, and if you needed a loan, you put your suit on and you went to see your bank manager and you made your case and he decided whether you got your loan or not. Nowadays, it's all online, or you speak to a customer service agent. So I think increasingly it's a flat structure. It's just how you deal with that and whether you get situations where the left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it's some time. I mean, it's some time since I've worked properly, and I don't think we had any politics at the Robin Hood Inn. But I was on my own in the kitchen area doing the washing up at that stage. So it was a solo role rather than a team role. Although everybody used to look after me and help me, like at the end of the night, if I was tired, they'd help me washing the floors, they'd help me take the bottles out. And there was a very good team spirit. So, and at Clank Connect, again, there was a really good team spirit, and it was a flat structure, and the people who were in charge, well, we never really saw them. They just used to let us get on with it. So no, I mean, I'm not sure there is a place for politics. The only thing I would say is that if you don't feel like your other teammates are cutting it or pulling their weight or doing a good enough job, and you're doing it not for your own gain, you're doing it for the betterment of the company, then that is where there might be a case for bringing people in line. But otherwise, I would say no, you should work as a team, a flat team ideally with servant leaders.
I love that, Sue, and you have always a great perspective when you join us each and every single time you show up. And I'm in alignment and agreement with you on that very statement. Because for me, we should never play political games. Because when you really think about it, it comes from many different places. But some of the most really big places it does come from, it stems from ego. It gets to a place, a position of power that we want. Again, Lord Acton says it best. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. So when we have that power, it's what we do with it that matters a lot, absolutely. But do we take that power and do it for good, or do we do it for a negative result? Not necessarily for us, but maybe that negative result for somebody else. That literally, I kid you not, and I'm sure all of us had to gone through this in one point of our lives, that we're literally, when you think about playing on the playground like kids, and there's that bully on the playground, and they are literally bullying that one kid. I mean, prime example, go to Christmas Story. When they did Double Dog Dare You on the pole, to stick his tongue on the pole, and what did he have to do? Get his tongue stuck on the pole. Even though that's not a bad example of that, but that's more of the kind of funny example to what bullying could do. But there's, again, going to end up being that something like that is going to take place. And all right, no worries, Tracy. We're glad that you're here. Have a great day. Make it your day, and we'll see you next time. Thank you so much for joining us today. But like I said, there's going to be, like I said, those bullies that's on the playground, so to speak, that will literally bully us to where we get so, I won't say kicked around. It's almost they have to get into their, probably the thought process that they have to end up having us basically as a person that is now subjugated to them. So we have to be in servitude to them in one way, shape, matter, or form, or we get so afraid of them by very natural design to them that we don't do those other things that we would most likely do. But Tom, I know you got a lot to share on this before because you've done it very well on previous conversations. But again, like I'm going to put that question to you, sir, like I did to Sue. Why do we need to have the political games being played in our organizations, which to me, I truly believe it becomes a cancer onto an organization? The culture is not going to be good for it. So the question then becomes, Tom, could political games be a net positive? Or do we need to say, no, it's not a net positive, we need to throw this out here because it's going to rotten our culture to the core, it's a cancer? What would you do about that, and how would you approach?
It would be based on the situation, I think. Political gains are how big businesses grow, quite honestly, that and their people. So realistically, you have to put yourself in a situation. Every situation will be different. I don't think there's any way to remove political gains in business movement. It's there, and it's not mandatory to use, but people use it to their advantage. It's just no different than manipulating the conversation. It's
My internet froze me up. So I gotta let Diane in. Hello, Diane. Are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
I'm
Hello,
glad
can
to
you hear
see
me?
you here, ma'am. How things going for you in Georgia?
Oh, they're going pretty good. No complaints. I'm feeling better. That's good.
I'll take that any day of the week. Absolutely, absolutely. So Diane, would love to hear from you. Do we need to have politics, not from a politic of governmental structure kind of dynamic of we talk about politics about our representatives and stuff like that? I'm not talking about this today. I'm talking about the kind of politics that are being played in our organizations that can really create a cancer to where the culture can be rotted from within, to where people are made to not only suffer, but also they, again, like Lord Acton said, absolute power corrupts absolutely. And if it is a cancer onto our organizations, Diane, how do we actually take that cancer out, and how would you approach it?
Well, I don't know, Chris. I mean, politics. Jeez, I don't know. First off, you don't want me to get me started on politics in general, because I'm sure that we all have our own opinions about that, and I don't want to clash with anybody. secondly, politics in business, I mean, that's just about as bad as politics in anything else. I mean, it's always going to exist. Um, it's a hard thing. It's just a hard thing to combat. And I think that it's just difficult. I have been lucky that in my career, I mean, when I first started, I worked in organizations, but I was young and I was in my 20s, and you're just getting started, and it's all yes sir and no ma'am, because you're just getting started and you're trying to, get along. So it was fine. But I didn't stay in corporate world long, so I didn't have to play those games long, and I have been so independent so much of my life that I've never really had
Darn
to play.
internet! I swear something's going on with it. There's something
I've
going
just
on with it. Go ahead, Diane. Keep going.
Okay, I've just never played those games much in my life, so I don't really know how to tell you to take politics out of the business world. I know it exists. I think that it obviously comes with the more power you have, the more power you. I think power corrupts. I mean, let's be honest. You can just really look at that almost in
Mm-hmm.
any phase of your life and realize that unless you have a level head and understand how to use the power that you've given for the betterment of everyone, and you let your ego step in. Ego is just corruptive. I mean, that's just, and once it steps in and takes over, then the power that you have, no matter what level it's
So
at.
if
Yeah. No matter what level you are at with the power that you've
uh-huh.
been given, once your ego steps in, the people below you, you're just going to walk all over. And that's just a sad thing. I don't know how to tell you to change that. That starts with an individual, and they are going to have to change their mindset. And changing someone's mindset, as we've seen play out in just
Mm-hmm.
public life, is you don't change
Okay.
somebody's mindset.
But that's the thing, though, Diane, isn't it? If absolute power corrupts absolutely, then how can we be the stewards of that power in such a way that it really is going to be a benefit for all? And Tom, I think you'd be the best person to kind of go into this, because you've talked about it before about leadership. If we're going to be stewards of good leadership, what would that look like if we're going to not be corrupted by that absolute power?
Well, that's kind of a loaded question, Chris. Um, you have to take every circumstance as different, and no one likes to wield that stick that is all about power. It's 'cause you want to maintain your culture and your organization. You want to maintain peace. You want to be able to work with your fellow workers, your coworkers, your executives. You want to be able to do that openly without doing backdoor deals that involve politics somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
We were going to move. We were going to build a huge building in Okotoks, for instance, in Alberta. We're 30 minutes, not quite, outside of Calgary. We had to talk to the councilman there in order to move there and build a big building and a manufacturing facility. But even though we're all Canadians there, we had to abide by certain rules. For every one person we hired, we had to hire 3 of their locals.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of put some it strangled us a little bit, and we never did build the building. But then it was always something else that council wanted to put a cap on. How big can we get? Where can we build? That wasn't an issue from us. We had all the money to go in there and do the building. But again, there was too many politics involved with doing it. And that I think is non-inviting if you want to bring new business into your city or town. I understand the need to hire locals. I understand the need to get them involved and have a benefit to them, not just yourselves. Um, back in the early 80s, another example, I was rounding up a crew. I had a huge landscaping company that grew immensely over like 18 months, and we put a bid in, it was Brazil. They wanted us to come over and build roads. But over there, we had to hire 10 of their people to one of ours.
Mm-hmm.
And, we were fine with that. But then once we got into the details of it, it wasn't just 10 people. Now we had to sponsor some local political events in the process to show that we cared about the organization, the country we were moving into. So there were politics involved there as well. So we had to pass on that. It was just, it was already going to cost us, essentially $1 million a mile to build over there, not to mention what it would cost us to ship equipment over. So we had to pass on that. It was just too politically driven. And I understand moving into another country and building something and getting their locals involved, because a lot of people in different countries are unemployed. So the government wants to make sure their people get employed too, not just one-to-one. They want a bigger and greater stake in it. But in the end, we probably would have been giving away 30% of our profit to Brazil. And that would be like having Brazil owning our company. And the investors that I had behind me just said, no, that's just too risky right now. So we never did that either. So politics can drive, and they can kill a deal too. It's maintaining the culture within your organization is most important to me. That's why I told you before, Chris, when I had a hosting and development company in the mid-90s, and it was a gaming platform as well. I had meetings once a month, with my staff. And at the end of the meeting, I would ask the staff, now, what would you like to see changed in the management? So I would get them involved. So it's maintaining that culture is important. And there are a lot of companies out there that just don't care because it's in a different division. They'll use another excuse as to why it doesn't matter to them, because they're in a different league, so to speak. So it's honestly, it's imperative to just, I see so many big companies out there now that are ruining their customer service. They're ruining it with bots that are answering questions. They're ruining it with, I don't know, when was the last time you went and tried to get information from a big company and you had to go through question after question with a bot, and then you finally had enough and you say, can I speak to someone who's actually a human being? So you actually have to do that and make that happen. And you just get frustrated because these big companies, they just think cutting costs. They don't think of efficiency. They just think the bottom line is we need to put some bots in to answer some questions, because we can't hire someone to do that. We're a multi-billion-dollar corporation, but customer service is a furthest thing from our minds. TELUS phone company out here is famous for that. They'll have customer service reps all the way to India and China, places like that are third world, providing customer service on a local basis because it's cheaper.
Yeah.
And you can't understand what they're saying.
Exactly. And that's the worst part about it. It's here in Canada, we face every day going to a fast food place, a restaurant, anything like that, and you have to ask them 3 or 4 times, can you explain that, please? Can you explain that? I don't understand what you're saying. And I'm not prejudiced by any means, but I think if you're going to operate a business in a Canadian, well, in any country that is English speaking, then you need to learn that language. So if I go to India, I better learn something about India and how they talk before I open up a business or want to open up a business. Or I better hire a bunch of locals that can do it for me. But then that almost defeats the purpose because now you don't know what they're saying to each other. So you don't know, you're always paranoid as to what exactly are they saying.
Yeah.
You have to learn these things as you go. And just about all the Tim Hortons here in Canada are owned by East Indian now. And 9 times out of 10, you can't understand who you're talking to through the mic. Again, I'm not prejudiced, but if you're going to be on a customer service role and talk to people, you need to speak their language. And
Definitely.
If you
So that means I couldn't do it because my southern drawl. No, I'm just joking.
yeah,
Just trying to add a little levity, that's all.
that's okay.
But I do agree with you, Tom.
It's just, we can never go to India and open up a business like they can do over here.
Exactly.
Their rules are so much different. They come over here, manipulate our rules, our laws, and they do it to the benefit of themselves. But I got stopped by police here a few years ago. I was at a Tim Hortons and I was getting really upset. I could not understand the customer service rep at the window. I said, would you please put some frickin' person online who can speak English? And I drove up to the window and the police met me at the window. And they said, I'm sorry, sir, is there a problem here? And I said, I just want to place an order and they can't seem to understand what I'm saying. Why are they on this mic if they can't understand what I'm saying? And, I just got my warning, be nice, be polite. And I was trying to be polite, but there's only so much politeness that can come out of that.
Exactly. And like, English is not.
Hey, I gotta
it's
step away.
the
I'm
most
sorry to interrupt. I gotta
common
step away. I'll
language
be
in
right
the
back.
world, so why the hell is it such a problem to learn it when you are in an English-speaking country or working for an English-speaking country? Like, even though I'm Slovak, okay, Slovakia is a small country, okay, but I speak 5 languages, and 4 of them I've learned out of need, not out of passion.
Yep, that's impressive. And
Thank you.
that is what more and more people should be doing. On my Tucker Tech store, it's funny to say, I just have to though, but I sell languages, okay, that people can learn, and there's probably 13 different languages.
Okay.
I have yet to pick up one and try to learn a different language. So that's my own ignorance, is just, I sell it because other people would like to learn it. Yet, here I am, backpedaling because I'm telling people they should learn other languages, and if they're going to deal with countries that have a different language.
Yeah.
It's, ironically, it just came to mind now that I sell all these languages online and I don't even learn them myself.
But you are lucky to come from an English speaking country, and it is sort of expected from all of us others to learn English and learn proper English. So it's not such a big deal. Like, it's up to the point of being sweet that you are willing to see it this way. Most native speakers don't even think that far. But, it's also not easy for an English speaker to learn another language if they are not exposed to a bilingual or multilingual household right from early childhood.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's true. That's true. I just, I see our country turned upside down in the last 9 years since Trudeau's been here.
Mm-hmm.
I certainly don't want to get involved with politics right now because it just turns my blood pressure up.
Yeah.
my neighbor came down last night and we had a discussion, and it got loud, and we kind of parted ways very quietly. But
Ooh.
I just don't. I don't like engaging in politics too much, even though I've had to embrace it for the last 4 or 5 years more than I have in my entire life.
Yeah.
Ever since COVID, that's just been politically driven, and everything else that goes with it. It just, the division that's been created nationwide, worldwide. It's just you're either liberal or you're conservative. That's what it's come down to almost. It's but they can't seem to get along.
Yeah.
It just anyway. That's a really blown up question and answer for you, Chris, about politics and business, but it really comes down to situations. But as long as you keep your culture in mind within your business, if it's a political move, then you have your culture behind you. It's kind of embracing the impact that's coming down the pipe instead of waiting for that to happen, not knowing in advance. It's politics and business has been around for centuries, and we all have to use it at some point in time. It's just how you include the company with it and the people within your organization. I like it's kind of like the old phrase of, power corrupts. You were just mentioning that, not long ago. Power corrupts. Yeah. And that's when you decide to be a dictator in your own company and not let your company know what's going on, so they're not ready for it when something happens. And that will also discourage people to trust you and believe in you and maintain a proper culture in your organization. So that's kind of my take on that, Chris. It's a long, drawn-out process, but in an answer.
I love. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But I love what all of you all are sharing today, and I want to keep this great and engaging conversation moving forward, because I will go to what the great Andrew Breitbart said many years ago, and it's absolutely true. He said that politics is downstream of culture. Think about it from a culture perspective. Of course, like Sue said a couple of weeks ago, that politics is in every aspect of our lives. Absolutely, 110%. Yeah. But if we're not wanting to have politics in our organizations today, maybe we need to set the tone right out the gate that, hey, we're not going to have people subvert or to impugn or play games to get ahead or to make someone look bad or like, again, it's almost like playing those playground games as we did as kids, to literally just say, hey, I'm ruling the playground, I'm the bully, and you don't have to have your toys here, take your toys and go, or whatever. We don't have to play those kind of kid-like games even when we're adults. And maybe it might take, and I truly believe this, Diane, Tom, and Daniela, it might take people like us who say we can have a deep and meaningful conversation with each other and find out where we are fit in a place of alignment with each other. Do we put in a place of agreement with each other? And if we're in that kind of boat, we're okay with that. Absolutely, 110%. But if we don't fit in the kind of the alignment space or the agreement space, but maybe we can recognize we can still work with each other. And again, have that honor and respect for one another and just let that be. But still yet, we will start leading with our humanity every day in every way. And we can, again, set the tone, because that's what a leader does. A leader sets the tone. And when we set that tone for not only others to follow, but also to duplicate and replicate, then maybe the culture could be ripe for growth, ripe for thriving, fight for that win-win-win at the end of the day. And yes, we can't get rid of all political games in our organizations today. We can't probably get rid of egos or emotions and that kind of thing, because then again, if we start doing that, I truly believe Tom, Daniela, and Diane will start losing our very humanity, where we're trying to, again, check our humanity at the door. And we should never do that. So I
Yeah.
truly believe there's a fine balance in what we do and letting that balance play out. So let's get into our final thoughts before we end up the call, because I got a call at 2 o'clock. But Diane, I'll start with you. What's your final thoughts today, ma'am?
No, I agree with everything that's been said. I just think that, excuse me, I think that it's just hard to pull politics totally out of any culture, anything that we're trying to accomplish. It's always going to be there. It's just a matter of trying to manage it to the best of our ability. And remember that we're all human and we need to remain kind and show empathy to one another and not use each other as a doormat, and
Yeah.
try to, you know, reach down and help each other up and stop thinking, there's plenty to go around. We do not have to walk on one another to get ahead. There is
Yeah.
plenty of resources, there's plenty of help, there's plenty of money, there's plenty of everything. If we just realize that and stop saying, I got to have it all. You don't have to have it all. You don't. There's plenty to go around. And you don't, what are you going to do with it if you have it all? I mean, honestly, you can't take it with you. So,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, so if we just learn to be kinder to one another and show empathy to each other and reach down and pull one another up, it would be such a better place. So I think that if we learn to lead that way, but bottom line, you're still always going to have, it's like the one bad apple. You're still going to have somebody somewhere that feels like they need it all. I'm better than you. I'm the best. I'm always, my show is the best show. It's always been the best show. I'm always better than you. I've done it better than you. I'm going to do it better than you. You can't do it as good as I am, even though I'm screwing up every time I turn around.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm going to claim that I'm the best. I'm the best. I'm the biggest. So you're still going to have that person, and you just have to learn to, if you're in a leadership position, to either work with them and deal with it or eliminate them. Just, you can be the best somewhere else, but we don't need you to be the best in our culture, because we don't need that. That's not what we're looking for. So that's my thought.
Love it,
I'm done.
Diane. I love it. Danielle, your final thoughts?
Well, it's all about values and knowing, the pandemic has messed it up even more because people got so afraid of not even having their basic needs catered for, that many people who weren't bad people turned into bad people just because they got so afraid of losing everything that they forgot about that you can get further uh, when you're cooperating than where you can go on your own while having it all. And
Love it.
that's something that needs to be changed first, because, politics in companies is one thing, and it will always be there, and it will always be dependent on that one person, whether it's HR, whether it's the highest leader or whoever. It always will be there, but the main human values should be returned and restored somehow, so that because some people have lost their compass. They think like, because of what happened, this is the new normal, but it will never become normal. It is how the situation is now, but we need to change back to values.
I totally agree. Values is a big thing, Daniela, because if we don't stand by our value, nothing at all. I love that. Thank you so much. Tom, your final thoughts, sir? You'll bring us home today.
Well, I'd like to echo both Diane and Daniela. The one of the biggest things I think is inclusion within an organization. So there's no hiccups, there's no backseat deals, there's no politics. Yes, it will always be in business. There's not avoiding that. It's how you treat your people within, and you hire people to help you grow. So you have to count on those people, those same people, to help you through the next phase. And if politics are involved in making those decisions, then you have to be inclusive. Yeah, you might be the leader, you might be the owner of the company, but you hired a team to help bring you to the next level. So you need to bring them involved, and maybe they have some opinions on the matter. Maybe they have something that you didn't see. Maybe, it could be a number of things, but inclusion is very important within an organization, and that's how you maintain proper culture. If you go outside that and you start segregating people within your organization for whatever reason, that shouldn't happen in the first place. Payroll shouldn't have to talk to HR. Well, why not? That why should HR have to talk to everybody? Why can't HR delegate? It's honestly, it's ultimately the owner is going to make the final decision. How he makes that decision or she makes that decision, it's going to be all about how he or she brought it to their team to make that decision.
Yeah.
You can't grow a company alone, and that's why I'm still delegating. I have big things in front of me right now. Some of it I can't even talk about right now, but I have to do a dip within inclusion and culture. I'm going in different directions right now with my business that I didn't expect. So politics is without a doubt part of it, but the people I work with are also included in the discussions. So that's kind of my take on it. Keeping your culture active and on top and
Yep.
following you is going to be the most important thing to the success of your business.
And I well, because definitely if we don't include anyone in our organizations today that feel like that they belong, they can always go somewhere else. They don't have to be with us. And I'm 100% with you on board with that. But then again, and this is my final thoughts with this too as well. If we are wanting again to create that environment of inclusion and belonging and with the amazing things that we can do with one another through all the trials and tribulations, we literally are on a very amazing journey together. And if we're wanting to do that journey together, we got not only take each other for who we really are and extend again that gifted invitation to everybody on board our organizations. Yeah, granted, they may not like us, they may not want to be in agreement with us, they may not be in alignment with us, but that doesn't really matter. What matters is that we is not only as today, but maybe more importantly as human beings first and foremost, are going to be the people who are going to extend that hand, not only to lift them up and get them to where they want to go and not make it about us, but make it about them first and foremost. Even if they are, like I said, not in alignment with us or in agreement with us, or they're only there for the money and they don't care 2 hairs about the mission or the vision, but they're just there to do a job, there's going to be those kind of people that include them nonetheless. Because if you still include them in what you do and why you do each and every single day, I truly believe, Diane, Tom, and Daniela, it's not a matter of when they come around to you. It's only a matter of when that occurs. Because if you still show up consistently and constantly with them, and then you're extending that gift to them to such a degree, they start seeing that and seeing the value in it. And,
Yeah.
and for me, value is going to be the next currency of humanity. Full stop. End of story. But when we bring that value to them to such a degree, it's going to be literally in their mind and in their hearts as being priceless by very definition. It changes everything. It really does.
Yeah,
So
but
Diane,
showing loyalty can intelligent people can learn loyalty when you show it for long enough. And stupid people,
Absolutely,
you can
absolutely.
show loyalty for the rest of your life and die on it, and they will still drown you the first moment they can.
and see, when you really think about it, Del Daniela, that's going to be on them and not on us. So I look at it that way. So that's the way I look at it. But
Yeah.
Diane, thank you so much for the great and engaging conversation. I'm sorry for all the hiccups with Riverside, but that's the way the river crumbles, as they say. Oh, no, the way the cookie crumbles. That's what it is.
That's the
but
way
like-
the river flows.
Yeah, there you go.
I was just
So
looking
again,
at that,
thank you so
Diane.
much, Diane, Tom, and Daniela for being here, and also
Thanks, guys.
to Tracy and Sue for engaging with us too. We'll see you on the next Coffee with Chris live, and we'll be talking to you guys soon. So you guys have a great day. Make it your day. We'll see you on the next show. Have a great day, everyone.
Bye, guys.
You too.
Bye,
Bye.
everyone.
Thank you.